Hey, what's going on, guys? Ryan from PowerHourPod.com, 444football.com here. Just wanted to give you a quick glimpse or just a quick little insight and some pro tips on how I use FanShare Pro and how you guys can utilize it to leverage tournaments, cash plays, really any kind of contest that you're thinking about entering. You can use the pro portion of FanShare here to leverage the field in a handful of different ways. So one of the first ways that I do that is obviously the FanShare Pro tab over here on the right hand side. The tags are so important, so crucial. What Andrew and the guys at FanShare are doing is aggregating all of this information that the industry is just pumping and putting out there, whether it's podcast articles, tweets, YouTube videos, any content that you can think of. They're going out there and they're seeing what people are saying about specific players. We'll use a polarizing guy like Josh Gordon as an example here, but what I like to do is just click on a name, scroll down a little bit, and what we can see is obviously you have some cool stats, their trend versus salary and popularity here. You get a handful of statistics. Obviously Josh Gordon just played his first game in week 13, but you can see how they're doing recently. One of the big factors here with generating unique lineups or leveraging the field on specific players or getting low-owned guys is targeting high-profile players off of poor performing games and capitalizing on the public's recency bias of that specific player. Definitely not something that we get to do with Josh Gordon this week, but on to the point that I was trying to make is actually looking at where these tags are coming from, who's touting them, who's telling you to play them, who's telling you to sit them, and applying specific weights to those individuals. So obviously a site like NumberFire, which is either owned by FanDuel or NumberFire bought FanDuel. Either way, they have a partnership together, NumberFire and FanDuel. This site generates a ton of traffic from betting, from DFS, from your average seasonal fantasy football player. So they push they carry a ton of weight and push a ton of ownership for specific players. Obviously, the guy that we're looking at is Josh Gordon. So what you can do is then go click on the article that the tag came from, where Josh Gordon was mentioned and what they actually said. We don't need to do that right here. There's no reason to, and that's because Josh Gordon has a 100% start rate. And I'll show you where I got that number from here in just a second. Adam Levitan, huge guy in the industry over at fantasylabs.com. Very sharp guy, very well respected, definitely knows what he's doing, and absolutely pushes ownership for DFS. Levitan is saying that a guy is a good start. Most people are going to be on it. If he's saying that guys are a fade, you're going to see a guy's ownership dip. Levitan pushes ownership. NFL.com, obviously a really high traffic site. So you get where I'm going here, the Daily Fantasy Edge. I mean, look at these three names. These guys push ownership like crazy. Once again, more Fantasy Labs. So you're seeing really well-respected sites, really popular sites, high traffic sites, kind of talking about this guy as a start. So clearly he's going to generate so much ownership and carry a ton of ownership. Some other things, obviously, as you're going through this, and maybe you see like a random YouTube video on a specific player. No offense, have no idea what this is. Doesn't mean that it's bad content, but the point that I'm trying to make is whatever this person said isn't pushing ownership the way that Levitan or Sports Illustrated or NumberFire are pushing ownership, right? So actually looking and going through all of these comments are important. Gordon, probably not the best example to use just because of who he is, and he's just a clear start with the salary and stuff like that. But let's go take a look at a guy like Russell Wilson. This is where I was saying that, he's not 100%, but this is where I was saying that sentiment rating, that start rating, he was 100%. That's where I got that number from. You have some people telling you to sit Russell Wilson, so that's pretty interesting. So let's click on Russell Wilson's name. Obviously, he has a bad matchup against Jacksonville, But what you can do is you can go dig up some content on why is it a bad matchup. So we see NFL.com here, and you can kind of use FanShare as like this hub for a lot of your research. So let's go to Silva's Week 14 matchups here. Obviously, Evan Silva, huge guy in the industry. Let's click on this. We'll go over to Roto World, and let's go find Russell Wilson. Pro tip for Silva's, if you scroll down here and you go to printer friendly, it gives you everything all in one big sheet, not in a ton of little pages. So now we can command find. Who are we looking for? Russell Wilson. Awesome. So now you can go through here and you can read why Russell Wilson is being recommended as a start or as a sit this week, right? So once again, using FanShare as like a hub to help you do your research as well. Huge, I think, very underrated portion of one of the features that you get at FanShare Pro. So how do I use FanShare? I love using FanShare at a buy position. Don't forget to filter by salary here if you want to, but I like just looking at everything by position. Start at quarterback, and immediately, if I want to leverage the field in a 3 max or a 20 max, or if you play 150 max and you're shooting at some of those Qs that are happening this weekend, it's the last chance to get in on them. I think that just crossing off Garoppolo, crossing off Alex Smith, Russell Wilson's a little bit unique, but basically what I'll do is I will cross off and remove the top 3 or 4 guys out of my player pool, because these are going to carry the most chalk. So I'll go look at a guy like Phillip Rivers. Personally, in a great spot, really good spot with Keenan Allen, right? So you can think about those matchups off the top of your head, but that is how I like to leverage ownership. I just get rid of these guys. Whether I think they're in a good matchup, whether recency bias is a thing, whether it's a tough matchup for Russell Wilson, they carry a lot of tags, which means they're being talked about a ton across the industry. Unique thing with Russell Wilson, pretty heavy sit rate over here. So definitely not seeing 100%, 100%, 100%. Same thing with Carson Wentz. Pretty heavy sit rate over there at 25%. So what you can do is you can go through here and you can kind of figure out who is telling you to sit and who is telling you to start. So let's use Pro Football Reference's first tweet here. Let's see what it says. Carson Wentz, Jared Goff facing off for the first time on Sunday. Here are their stats this season. Who would be your pick? Nothing super interesting here. Really just showing you stats. So as you can see, this doesn't mean anything for ownership. It didn't tell you anything. All it did was show you game logs. And that's what I'm saying. We're like, you need to see what the content that these people are tweeting out. You need to see what they're actually saying in their articles like Evan Silva did. I'm not saying you need to dig through all of these, but some of the heavy hitters, you may want to go listen to the Daily Fantasy Edge. Great podcast, very informational. See what Zeidenfeld and Levitan said. Not for consumption purposes, but for ownership purposes. Did they tout him as a start? Did they say that you should sit him? If they're saying that you should sit Carson Wentz, then you can probably leverage the field and get him a little bit more low owned, right? So that is one of my favorite ways to utilize FanShare Pro, and really the primary reason why I pay for this subscription. Now, you can do the same thing with running back. We can cross off the top 3 or 4 guys, and we can go right to Alfred Morris. LaShawn McCoy in a great matchup is not being talked about a lot. So you can go click and see why. Does it have to do with the Tyrod Taylor news, right? So see why a lot of these touts and why a lot of these people are saying that these guys are sit starts candidates. That is how I utilize FanShare Sports on a daily basis. I do primarily a lot of my research between Thursday and Saturday. All of this stuff is pretty much caught up on Friday night, Saturday morning with all of the injury news. You get a lot of stuff on Thursday too. So if you want to get some early research for those Thursday, Monday lineups, you can utilize FanShare Pro for those contests as well. So that's just a quick pro tip. That's how I use it, guys. And if you have any questions about how you can better leverage this tool, and trust me, it is a fantastic tool. I've been using this for roughly 2 years now, and it has made me a much more profitable GPP player. And you can use it for cash too. If you are short on time and your friend fired a $20 head-to-head for you so you guys can talk shit to one another over the weekend, come in here and just like, okay, Gio Bernard, Lamar Miller, Todd Gurley, boom, put those as your core. Filter over here to the quarterback position. All right, Jimmy Garoppolo, cheap quarterback. A lot of people like him this week. You can see how you can start constructing a cash lineup just by going through the top ones. It's the opposite of what you would do for a multi-enter large GPP, right? And same thing. Let's go over to wide receiver. And all right, we got a value. We got a high price guy. You can literally use those as your core. We got a not necessarily a value, but a reasonably priced Larry Fitzgerald here. Click on his name. See what people are saying about him. Look at some of those logs, right? Is it recency bias? Are people chasing what was a really good game? There's a lot of different things that you can use on FanShare to help you build a lineup. Like, to my point earlier, you kidding me? AJ Green has just as high of a ceiling as DeAndre Hopkins and Keenan Allen. He's cheaper and he's not being talked up nearly enough. Look at these groupings, this group of wide receivers that you have above him. That means that you can probably get AJ Green at 5% in the Millionaire Maker. And if he has the same ceiling as a couple of these other guys, why wouldn't you do that to leverage the field? These are the things that I like to use FanShare Pro for. Sterling Shepard in an absolute smash spot, not even on the first page of wide receivers. And this is when you can start to get deep, right? Go into that third page. So if we go to all over here and we just go over here, let's go to the third page. Let's see what people look at. LaShawn McCoy on the third page in a really good spot, really good matchup. And you would know that by clicking on his name and reading some of the articles that have been written. FanShare is aggregating all of this information for you and giving you this wonderful hub to use. And a vast majority of ways can you really capitalize on using this tool in cash and in GPP. So once again, that's how I use it. Get at me on Twitter at Ryan Hodge if you have any questions. If you're new to this tool, I've been using it a long time, so I can definitely help you guys out in that area. With that, hopefully everyone is enjoying their NFL season, and run good, guys.